All right. Cool. Are you ready to just dive in and have some fun? And
Yeah, let's do it.
cool. Let's do this. This is awesome. So, Ashley, thank you. First of all, seriously, thank you so much for just being willing to talk about your astral projection experiences. I've had a hard time finding people to come forward, so I'm grateful anytime that happens.
Yeah, no, you're good. I've had a hard time finding anything myself, looking for people with similar experiences or just like searching the web for information. And I'm like, am I going to have to start putting I've been thinking, like, feeling called to put information out there just because there's not a lot of content out there or people that are doing it regularly, I guess. So
Yeah.
I was like, let me do it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. Yeah, it was hard. I remember in the very beginning looking into astral projection, and I looked online. This was probably like, I don't know, close to 10 years ago or something. And I got
Mhm.
to a website, and it was one of those rare websites. Like, no websites usually do this, but I clicked on, to just check out the website, and it gave one of those disclaimers like, before you could actually enter it. Like, but it wasn't set up. It almost felt, I don't know, whatever. There was some disclaimer that was like, are you sure you want to enter? This is dangerous content or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so just what I'm trying to say is I think it's come a long way from being so like stigmatized in that way. Um, like just everybody thinking it's so
Right.
dangerous and it's the devil and everything like that. So that's really good. So this is great that you're willing to talk about it. I think there's a wave of people willing to talk about it more and more. I
Yeah.
hope, at least.
Yeah, I do too.
So sweet. So Ashley, let's jump right in. So how long have you been astral projecting for?
So I first really got into this when I was in college. I was started with that book, Teach Yourself to Dream, and I started doing these exercises. And that was really the first time I had any experience. And that was 20 years ago. I'm 37 now, so I was 19 then. Um, and then ever since then, I've kind of been chasing and practicing, and I couldn't master it, dealing with that sleep paralysis phase. And just about 3.5 years ago, I I found my niche or whatever rhythm to be able to do it consistently, more controlled, and have been really experimenting more so on the astral plane now with intention, which has just been kind of incredible. So I have been looking for more people that are doing that. So now I kind of, for 3 years, have been projecting 3 times a week at least, if not at least
Whoa,
once. Um, and it's been pretty
that's
intense.
that's amazing. So wait,
um,
there's a lot of questions I have there. That's awesome, Ashley. So number one, I'm so happy for you. Good for you to be able to practice and get there. So you started with what was it called? Dreams something. What was the name of the book that you
there
started
was
with?
this book, and it was started this whole journey for me, which I can't see you anymore. My people are calling me, but it was called Teach Yourself to Dream. And it was an older book. I got it at some used bookstore, just like off, kind of random. And it really, that opened the door to me for lucid dreaming because it really focuses on lucid dreaming and doing that. And then I was able to like control lucid dreaming for many years, changing the environment, just kind of playing around, bringing people in. And it was all kind of thanks to that book and then experimentation, of course. But
Yeah, I've heard about lucid dreaming being a good stepping stone. Like first get into lucid dreaming and then you should be have an easier time getting into astral projection from there. So
yeah,
that sounds about right. And I love how you found it in a bookstore. You always hear like stories from people about, oh yeah, I just so happened to found this magical book that, well, I mean like for that person, it was like, oh cool, what are the chances? That was pretty cool that I just came
yeah,
across it and then next thing you know, I'm lucid dreaming and astral projecting.
yeah. Was that combined with that book, The Silva Mind Control Method, which
Oh.
is also old? I read those at the same time, and I feel like it kind of put me into this spiritual plane.
Were
So
you were you so I guess you had an itch then. You probably heard about lucid dreaming and astral projection before you came across that book, or did you just randomly boom?
not really, yeah. I kind of just randomly boom, but I've always been more searching for spiritual things because I had an encounter with an angel when I was like 14 that really changed my life. Like, I mean, eyes awake, it was there. And it was the typical, the one with the six wings, the eyeballs everywhere.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I heard about that.
and it was like in my room. And ever since then, I was just trying to do whatever I could to kind of find something like that. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah, were
explaining it.
you? Yeah. Oh, so okay. Explanation more so than like. Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. So, whoa, that's so crazy. So you're 14, you're in your bedroom, and was this like middle of the night or in the day?
So it wasn't that late. It was probably 9 or 10, but I was going through a really rough emotional time. Um, and so I was just, I was crying, I was doing the whole thing, and I started just praying because I was kind of wanted to end my life at that time. It was really dark. And
Sorry about that.
it just all of a sudden there was this bright light in the corner of my room. I looked up and then I felt the wave of just overwhelming uh ecstasy, I would say, like bliss. I didn't even know what that word meant. I just felt that wave through my body. And then I looked and I saw all these eyeballs blinking at me, these wings, and it just took away my pain. And then it left before I could ask, like, who are you? Why are you here? What's going on? And then it was gone. But I was left with peace and I was able to sleep. And then that kind of started my spiritual journey in general.
Wow.
Um,
Wow. That's absolutely amazing. Did you tell anybody about that? Like your friends and family when it happened or?
um, my friends, everybody knows about that, but
Oh, that's
not much
cool.
else.
How did 14-year-olds take it at that time? I feel like if I told my friends when I was 14, they would either just like be like, okay, whatever, who's playing in the game tonight or something, or else they'd be like, no, dude, what are you talking about? You're crazy.
Yeah, they were definitely interested, that's for sure.
Oh,
But
nice.
just kind of like, okay,
You had a good support cast around you
I
at that
did at
age.
the time.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow, that's amazing. So then you found the book and you started and you got into it in lucid dreaming. Would you say you mastered lucid dreaming? Like you could do it
Not
anytime
at
you
that
wanted?
time. It took me a very long time. Once again, so I would say I feel like I've almost mastered. That was maybe like 5 years ago, so not that long ago, really, um, to have more control. But
Wow.
I was able to do it, you know, more regularly than just like random. I feel like most people you'd be like, "Whoa, I had a lucid dream," and it's like once every couple years,
Oh
just kind of
yeah.
random or something. So it was like that for a while, for a long time, um, until like 5 years ago, which I think aligns with. I'm a Reiki practitioner now. I do a lot of energy healing.
Oh nice.
Um, so I do believe that it's kind of this symbiotic relationship with just, you know, meditation, doing your part on just spiritually, like in the physical, kind of opens up more doors for you easier on the astral. And that's my personal belief. Um,
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Like you're always chipping away and making progress here until you're ready or you're like refined enough to finally face the astral. Does that
yeah.
kind of like that?
Or to have more control a little bit too, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Like for me, I can't even get an opportunity because I feel like my control is so bad that I just automatically get fearful in a second and snap back. And it sounds almost like I would build up enough skill and control in other areas to where I could maybe even have an opportunity to really face that and then go forward in the astral. I don't know.
Right. Well, yeah. Essentially, I think that's part with meditation. It's that clear mind where you are just everything that exists and not yourself, then fear doesn't exist anymore at all. So it's kind of reaching that point, which I think that's the biggest part for most people, anyways, to astral project is you have to get past that fear because it feels crazy when you're half out, you're half in, you're half out, your body's like, nope, nope. And then you fall back in and you have to like push through that, which is like the hardest part, I think.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. Um, Well, I would ask you, I need to not make this about me and how to astral project and how to get beyond that and stuff and go back to you here. So, like, so then you've been astral projecting for a long time? Well, no, not for a long time, but you read the book and um, you've been astral projecting for like the last three and a half, I think you said. And
Yeah, about 2 years more. Yeah.
that's pretty frequent to me, it sounds like, to be able to astral project three nights out of a week or something like that. For that seems pretty frequent. Is it ever like, well, number one, how do you hop into the astral? How do you astral project for you? Is it because I've heard somebody that just sets his intention and then he goes to sleep and then who knows, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. Other people, I've heard of people just being able to just lay down and, attempt from there before I guess they even enter deep sleep, mind awake, body asleep, and then do it from there or something. Like, what is it for you? How do you astral project?
So for me, I think what really started it actually was, which that was about a couple years ago too. Normally I have to get up to take the kids to school at like 6 a.m. And then I used to just go straight to work. So my husband started driving them to school. So I was getting them ready for like an hour where I was awake for an hour. And then I would kind of go back to bed, for 2 hours before I had to go to work at 9. And I found there was something about that time period of just being awake for long enough that when I fall back asleep, I wasn't getting into that deep, deep sleep. So then I was able to project out much easier. And then I found a correlation too, which one of my girlfriends sent something. It seemed to be closer to, I think, like 9 a.m. or something for me, my time zone. And then I learned something about the local sidereal time. Have you heard of that? They say there's certain times where everybody has, it's different. I think it's like 9:11 or 9:32 for where I live every day, where like the government has done studies where people are more attuned to like any type of psychic phenomena or something like mystical happens
Oh,
at these certain times every day. There's this window where it's just a little bit easier. So kind of lining it up with that, which I'm saying it wrong with what is it's called something.
yeah. I want to find out what that's
But
called and look up.
yeah,
So is that like a local, is that
I
like
don't
per
forget.
city or is that like
Uh,
per a time zone or is that like,
so it's different per, I don't know, you have to look like where you live because I think it could change per city, like ever so slightly.
yeah,
Um, and if you just Google like whatever the local sidereal time is for like psychic phenomena or something like that,
yeah.
you should be able to find information on it. And there's some like .gov files talking about it.
That's so cool.
Um,
Side reel, like
yeah,
SIDERE.
local sidereal, yeah, because I
Okay.
guess it's like a global time frame where the whole world, it's like the one that, so you could say, okay, at this time and like around the world, it is, so it's a different number depending on if you're in India to now, but it's the exact same moment for the entire world that
Oh,
accesses that time. So I guess
wow.
it's yeah,
That's
so it's pretty
amazing. I
cool.
had no idea about that. That's really cool. So what does that time equate for you? What time is that?
So it's like around 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Yeah, around there. And that's when I started doing that thing, trying to go back to bed at that time after I was awake. Um, and that's kind of like the consistent, I'm able to just go much easier without even that like lingering through my body too. It's just like speed of light, kind
Oh,
of
like
zooming.
so you just boom, teleport, zoom to the
Yeah,
astral.
it's pretty cool. Cause for a while it was like I would hang out in my room or like in the backyard. And
Yeah.
now it's just like I travel at the speed of light. Sometimes I feel like I'm suffocating. I can
Oh,
feel the sensations, which it really freaked me out the first time that happened. I could physically feel sensations of wind, like as if like I'm on a roller coaster and I hear the sound in my ears, which is weird. That was like bizarre to me. I'm like, why do I actually feel the sensations of like having a physical body while like flying up so fast? Um, which was pretty cool.
oh yeah, it sounds it. Wow, that's so interesting. So, yeah, I've heard going back to waking up. It's like the wake back to bed method, I guess is what they call it. I think Michael Raduga, if that's how you say his name, he's an author of some astral projection books. He's somebody that suggested basically what you're saying. I don't know if it's for an entire hour that you get up for in the morning and then you go back to bed from there to increase your chances of astral projecting, but
Right.
it's
Anytime enough,
something
I
like
think,
that.
where you're not fully letting yourself be like awake,
Yeah.
I think it makes it easier, I think.
Yeah.
and when you're not super, super tired to where your body doesn't want necessarily to go into that deeper sleep. It wants to stay conscious. It wants to do stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so even naps and stuff too is a good, I'll do that. If I want to try to investigate something on the astral plane, I'll take a nap in the middle of the day, and it's easier too if I'm not super, super tired.
That's awesome. Um, wow. I have so many questions and I'm like, where do I go here? So one thing that kind of, I got to ask you, so you've been astral projecting like three times a week or whatever. What have you found to be your, not calling, but like, what do you do? Are you like, you just said the word investigate. Do you try to find stuff out in this dimension? Do you just try to go to another planet and explore? Like, what is it for you?
Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun trying to do different things. So a lot of times I don't necessarily have super control over where I go. So it's really interesting to me the places that I've ended up. The few times I have set an intention, like I want to go somewhere beautiful with a mountain and a waterfall or something like that, like and then flying through space somewhere, and I always go out through like these wormholes. Kind of, it feels like I'm traveling through, and then you just like pivot through the side and then I'm somewhere. And I had went to this one place. It was absolutely beautiful. And then I realized there was dinosaurs. I got really see, I did get a little scared. There was these pterodactyls flying, and they did not like me there. They were like, "You're not supposed to be here." Um, and then I started being chased by a pterodactyl as I was flying around. And then I just said to myself, I was like, "Go back to your body." And then it was just like boom, I instantly woke up and was like so that was
That's
a kind of
amazing. So number one, you got to give me a description of what these pterodactyls, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but what did they look like? How big were they and everything?
they were not like as big as I would think. They were like probably 12 feet tall with a wingspan of like, I'm bad at math, I'm trying to like 35 feet or
Oh,
something like
wow.
that.
Wow. That seems
So
pretty huge to me. Yeah. That's
yeah.
amazing. So I can understand why you were
um
pretty intimidated and scared of them then.
yeah,
Did they have were they depicted the same as all our books always showed them, like the long
kind of,
beaks or
yeah.
whatever?
Yeah, but that was the only thing. I just saw like a colony or whatever of those, and then one started chasing me.
So Ashley, I got to ask you, I've heard from people like that have said stuff like, well, I'm in my astral form. There's no way this being can
Right.
hurt me. Like, is that one of those things where it's easier said than done? So you haven't gotten to that point yet, or?
Right. And that's what I've had some weird things too, where whenever I feel this pulling, when something's trying to hurt you on the astral plane, like you said, I don't believe that they can, but I feel normally heat on my cord or like root chakra area. It almost feels like I'm on fire a little bit. And I know I've been trying to Google everything to figure that out. It's a very strange sensation. But I think from what I've researched, it was just like you're just getting a stronger connection to the cord, basically. So you're feeling that energy and probably just like burning more energy. So like feeling the literal physical heat of trying to like go really fast or something. I don't know.
Huh.
That freaked me out at a long time ago, but now I'm kind of more used to that sensation. But I do notice if I encounter something that's attacking, I'll feel more heat um
And yeah,
in my body. I don't know.
yeah,
In
no,
my
that's interesting. So if you're that probably makes it harder then to overcome that whole I'm unstoppable in the astral because you're actually feeling something like you're saying, like heat, and you're actually feeling something that it
yeah.
seems like it's being triggered by like an event, like an intense traumatic event or something like that. I don't know, or dangerous, potentially dangerous. I don't know.
Yeah. And I've had issues in the past. That's where now I've stopped fighting back. So that mentality can get places of being like, nothing can hurt me, nothing can harm me. That's true. But you can piss off other entities or beings or whatever. And it's just kind of, I don't know, not good per se. You know what I mean? To fight unless you have to, or like, you know what I mean?
Oh
I don't
yeah,
think they can
definitely.
hurt you, but I do think that you can fuck up shit
Yeah.
on that plane of existence.
Oh
So it's
yeah.
that kind of
Yeah, and you're not trying to do that, and Yeah, no, and that's something that I've been curious about is other entities and interacting with them. And you have your malicious and your
Mhm.
benevolent ones that are probably out there. And then you hear of some things about like parasites and stuff about like
Mhm.
somehow attaching to you, and then in this dimension they're weirdly somehow, I don't understand it all, but somehow still attached. So it sounds like that's a good way to avoid anything like that as well, by
Right.
not trying to piss anything off out there. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Very interesting and cool. Um, so so then you said that you tried to like use your intention to go somewhere specific, like the beautiful
Yes, to go
mountains.
certain places.
So
But a lot of time I'm sent somewhere else that feels like my spirit guide likes to I have a spirit guide, I guess, that likes to fly me around places sometimes to show me stuff, which I think is interesting. And that's probably my favorite. I'm like, somebody carry me, please. I don't want to have to,
oh yeah,
so
easy mode,
that's
right?
yeah.
Easy
So
mode.
that's some of the best experiences I've had have been where somebody else was carrying me along. Um, so
Have you? That's awesome. So you have a spirit guide, or well, are spirit guides and guardian angels the same thing?
I think they
Just
can
called
be, but I
different?
think they're different,
Oh,
because I've been, which is actually pretty crazy. There is some realm where there's kind of the way we depict angels, but they shapeshift kind of into, they can present as masculine or feminine, and they shapeshift back and forth and kind of morph their features around, but they have like your classic, like white feathery wings on their bodies. Um, but I don't know if they're angels per se, like in the sense that we think of like heaven. I just don't know if it's just a different dimension and this is just like what they look like. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
I've been to a place that I don't know, it's just like they live up in the sky and there's these like orangey cliffs, caves. It's like barren. There's no trees. It's just like all these like floating mountain cliff things.
Whoa.
And there's white feathered beings. And they don't, and that's their energy that I've picked up on, don't necessarily feel just like euphoric, like that one angel with the eyes that I encountered that was euphoric, that felt like heavenly or divine. These feathered beings, they don't necessarily feel like that. They feel, some of them felt helpful and some of them felt not so helpful. So
Oh,
that was really eye-opening to me, because when I first went there I got excited and I'm like, oh, am I in heaven? Like there's these angels everywhere. And I was following, there was hundreds of them flying somewhere, like there was a meeting or something weird going on, and I kind of was following them. um, and I have one of them acted like they knew me, um, whereas others didn't. It was a very strange experience.
wow. That sounds amazing. Holy cow. So that all sounds amazing. So they're like you end up in a out there in a well, first of all, the dimension. Can you tell what dimension you're in? Because we're in the third dimension, right? So like, and
Correct.
if you astral project in the third dimension, then you're just here in this
Right.
real world,
And
but just
that's
like ghost style.
Yeah, I think there is different ones that I can send. Like I know when I first started projecting a couple years ago consistently, I would go just to this fourth dimension. And the interesting thing about that, when I was walking around this playground, there was a bunch of other astral projectors there, but it was almost like they were Sims characters. They were just kind of like
Oh,
glitching out. And I could see that their astral bodies, it was like, I think people astral project in their sleep and they don't know, they're not aware of it, they're not conscious. And they go to this plane that it's the fourth dimension and they're just kind of hovering there. They're not really moving. It's like they projected there and they don't know it. And I made the mistake one time. I was there and I'm wide awake and I'm like, whoa, there were so many people everywhere that I walked up. I was being goblin a little bit. I walked up to people and I was like, hello. And I remember I tapped this guy, like I touched his energies. He looks like a little ghost body. And he like instantly became conscious and looked at me and all of a sudden was going, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck. And then poof, he just vanished.
oh,
So probably went back to his body.
yeah,
So I was like, oh shit. I'm like waking people up on the astral
yeah.
plane, like making
You,
conscious. So, and that was like 3 years ago. I went to this plane all the time and I just kind of ran around like looking for anyone else who was conscious, and everyone was just not.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
I,
that's
and I woke
amazing.
a few people up. Yeah.
Yeah, you were a little goblin waking people up, pulling little pranks on people.
I was.
And
And then I started to feel bad. I was like, maybe I shouldn't do that.
the yeah, that lines up with another story someone else told me about how we all astral project, but we're just not conscious when we're doing it. Like we do go somewhere,
Yeah.
and that makes sense then. So that's probably exactly like you said. It's just people that are astral projecting, but they don't realize it.
Yeah. They're not
That's
utilizing it. So.
that's so interesting. And then yeah, he probably, I would guess he went back to his bed when he poofed away. And then
Yeah.
I wonder if you can whisper things into people's ear, the unconscious astral beings, and somehow that can translate to them. Like say they wanted to uh, be more successful in a certain area in their life. I wonder if you could find that person's astral body unconscious and then whisper something in their ear, and then
Right.
that
And
would
see if they,
translate into them
yeah.
helping them in some way. Just a little weird thought I had there.
Yeah. Maybe.
It's so interesting though. Yeah, so wow. So then you went there. That's so cool. Um I was going to say so okay, so you can tell what dimension you're in. So the one with those angels, well we're not sure exactly if they were angels, but with
Yeah.
the floating islands and all that. What
Mhm.
dimension would you say that was?
That felt like a sixth dimension is kind of around what I felt. Um,
Interesting.
but I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I can just, there's like subtle differences with some things. In some places, I couldn't even tell you. I just feel like I'm on a different literal planet or somewhere else that where it's not even dimensions of our plane of Earth or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And then that makes you wonder, wow, how far does it go? You know what I mean? There's
yeah,
probably so much that we don't even, we think we know, but there's probably just a whole nother, just, like it's just something
oh
opens
yeah,
up. There's something brand new, something
for
open up.
sure.
You learn this, something opens. Wow. Well, that experience with the angels or whatever they were in the sky, that sounds amazing. And you followed them, and there were like rune caves or like sigil caves or something like that.
No, it was bigger. So I went through these weird gates, and it was like this huge, almost like arena type thing, but it was like with rocks. There wasn't much, I don't know. And that was weird. It felt like there was some type of meeting or congregation, and I stayed to kind of see what was going on. And it was actually pretty wild. I felt like there's something going on this dimension that's not good, because I watched, I mean, there was thousands of these angels everywhere, all gathered into this room, and I was just there like, what's going on? And
Could they see
there
you?
was this, um yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. You're saying there was this what?
Oh, in the middle, it was almost like there was a stage or something, and there was this female looking angelic being, and it was weird because this one, it had like crazy wings. They were like 100 feet feathery wings, and she had this hair that was just floating behind her, that like Rapunzel style, and just glowing. Her skin literally was translucent, glowing. And then there was this other angel though that had this like lance scepter thing, and straight up stabbed her straight in the middle. And I was like, holy shit. And then after that first stab, her wings shrunk from like 100 feet wide to like 50 feet. And then her glow shrunk a little bit. And then he stabbed her again. And then she looked more like the other angel beings that were around, just like your typical wing size, and then no glow. She wasn't glowing anymore. And then I was like, what is this, some type of demotion? I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then they stabbed her again, and this was it just she disappeared into black goo. And then the black goo went along the thing, and then they were like, next there was like other angels waiting in line, and the next one came up, and this angel being that had the normal sized wings, no glow, just looked kind of humanish. They tapped them with the lance thing, and then their wings grew even bigger, and then they were glowing. So it felt like some sort of like promotion demotion type thing happening.
Yeah.
And then I ended up following, I wanted to see where that black goo was going,
Yeah.
so I kind of zoomed and like was following around that, and then it went back in this weird room, and there was a what looked like a pregnant woman on a table, and the black goo went into the body, like it went into the baby or something. And
I,
then I was like, I got to get out of here.
whoa, that's super interesting. A pregnant human woman or a pregnant
It
like,
looked it looked human. There was no wings. It was very strange.
huh? Maybe they were getting ready to hop into the third dimension or something like that, and they were leaving that dimension, hopping into the baby of that pregnant woman, or like,
Yeah.
or sacrificing themselves
I
for
know.
whatever reason.
I
I don't
had
know. It's so weird.
so many questions about that.
Yeah,
Yeah. I was like, is this are humans like angels wanting to experience pain or life, or like if they can't, I don't know.
yeah,
I was like, because she was like this epic glowing thing. I was like, what did she reach this level to where it's like now you get to like experience like humanity or
yeah.
something? I
Whoa,
don't know. I
that's
thought about so many different things to interpret. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. That's intense. Could you telepathically communicate with any of the beings there or no?
There was one angel being that actually came up to me that acted like they recognized me as, and that's where I thought it was one of my spirit guides from like 10 years ago that I hadn't even thought about. And they approached me, and I was just kind of like, I just recognized the energy. It wasn't even um, like somebody I've ever met, but it was like meeting an old friend. Like
Oh.
we hugged, and he was like, "Oh wow, what are you doing here?" And I was like, "I don't know." And that way we had just a short, brief conversation, and then they left, and that was kind of that.
Oh,
Uh,
that's interesting. Did you
so
you said you do have a spirit guide then that you know? You know your spirit guide?
I know a couple right now. I've been, I guess, projecting with there's this, it looks like a barn owl, just like an owl that
Oh.
will fly together. And he's saved me a couple times. I've projected out where I am going fast, and it's pulled me back, and I can telepathically talk to it, and it pulled me back into like my bedroom. And I remember being in my bedroom looking, and I was like, no, I want to go. And he told me, he was like, no, he's like, don't go out tonight. He was like, there's something going on in the astral plane. It was like, you need to stay at least in your neighborhood. He was like, do not go further than that. And I was like, and I couldn't, I just wanted to go. So I started flying, and he followed me like 3 times and like pulled me back. And I was like, okay, okay, okay. I was like,
Yeah.
I'll stay here. And so I
You're
don't know.
like fine. You're like fine, I'll listen to you.
I was like, okay, little owl guy.
Yeah. Little owl guy. What's his name? Have you does he have a name? Have
I
you given
haven't
him a
named
name?
him. No, I haven't actually. But I'll follow him around sometimes on the astral plane. And we just talk telepathically. But there's never, yeah, I never felt like a need to exchange names or do any of that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's so cool. So you have like wouldn't they call that those familiars? Don't
Yeah,
it
I think
sounds
it's
kind of
something
like
like
a
that.
familiar or something like that.
Yeah,
So you have
yeah.
an owl. That's so cool. So interesting. That makes you, because I always thought like it would be a human being type or humanoid type of a being that would be your guide, but it can be other things.
Yeah, I haven't any of my guides that I have flown with haven't been human.
Nice.
So,
And you said your
because I
favorite. Oh, what were you going to say? Sorry.
oh, I was like, because I've also flown, I have a black dragon that I can fly around with, and he's pretty scary. Like the
Oh,
energy,
oh,
is
really?
very
Like
like
he's pretty,
every time I'm like, don't hurt me, kind of vibes. But
and he's like, "There's no way I'm going to hurt you. I'm your guide. I'm going to protect you."
yeah, yeah. It
But
gets really offended with me. It's just like, oh my gosh, like you're scared of me. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
is he like a giant dragon? Is he smaller or like how
He's
big would you
pretty
say?
big. Yeah. He's like black and kind of reddish. And
Oh,
just very,
nice.
it's just, yeah,
Is
dragon energy is just
is he serpent
very,
like? Is he serpent
yeah,
like or is he
it is
like
kind
really
of more
long?
serpent-like. That's what I was gonna say. And if you've ever hung out with snakes, the energy is more that just, I don't know, hard to explain. Serpent-like
Majestic
energy.
serpent like interest.
Yeah, just yeah.
And then have you ridden on top of him? I guess you can fly. There's no need to ride on top of him, right?
Yeah,
Or
no,
like
yeah. We normally just fly together. Yeah.
wow. That's cool. So an owl, a dragon. Are there any other guides that you have or had?
Just the one that angel looking friend.
Yeah.
There's like a feathered angel. Um, that's pretty much it. Which I don't know. I've traveled with this. It's like a black smoky figure.
Oh,
Sometimes, which almost I've tried to figure out what that is. I don't know if it's just like another. That does feel kind of human to me now I'm thinking about it, but it's just like very black smoky. Like I don't know if it's like another projector with just lower energy that it can't fully form.
oh,
So have you noticed that with projecting that I feel like certain other humans, like you can see like they either look like more ghost like or kind of translucent, some are really clear, almost as human as we look now, versus kind of fragment morphing or smoky. Have you noticed that?
I haven't noticed anything, Ashley. I have never astral projected. So,
No.
yeah, I know. I really, really want to. And I've gotten close a couple of times, but I need to do what you did and just practice and read and all that. But that's really interesting. A couple of things. Number one, have you ever heard of Rick? He's an astral projector and he has a YouTube channel, Rick Pyle, I think his name is. His channel's called
No.
Astral Club. It's really cool. He shares a lot of his experiences and stuff.
Yeah.
But he talked about the Shadow Man. And he
Yeah.
talked about, he actually interviewed the Shadow Man on the astral plane. And I guess this is like a smoky, dark, shadowy figure. And he scares a lot of people back into their body, even if he's just standing there, like not
Yeah.
creating some sort of evil or crazy thing to scare somebody, but just standing there. Um, and that's what came up like in my mind when you were describing that. But maybe it's not the same thing because you seem to, like you said, you kind of have a relationship with that
It
being a
felt
little bit.
familiar. Yeah, I feel like we're friends, whoever this. And that's what I'm wondering
Yeah.
too. Is it just, are there beings that are like that? And just some of them are, negative that people are scared of, but they're just another type of species? I mean, we don't
Yeah.
know. But there is this one shadowy, it looks scary, but the energy's not. The energy is friendly to me, anyways.
Yeah. Well,
So I don't know.
yeah, that's interesting. And then, you talking about seeing other people that you think are astral projectors, human astral projectors on the plane when you're astral
Mhm.
projecting. Do you, that leads me to the question, have you had a friend that you've known that astral projects that where you guys met and stuff like that or in the astral?
So no, no, none of my friends have. I've tried to like coach them through. They haven't really been able to project. So
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I wonder, that sounds like that would be so much fun. I feel
you
like,
know,
don't you
I've
think?
my best friend tried so hard. Bless her heart. She's
Oh,
got
I
the book
bet.
Astral Dynamics right now, and
Oh
she's
yeah, I
doing
have
all
that
this
on my
stuff.
shelf. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
And she's practicing right now.
she's been practicing, yeah, but she hasn't been able to. Yeah,
Has she gotten close? Like, felt the vibrations and the sounds in her and
yeah,
stuff like that?
yeah,
Yeah. Well, she'll get there. Well, I
yeah.
think, yeah, we'll all get there. But that would be so, that would be so, I feel like that'd be so much fun. It's like, hey, what's up? All right, let's go do this.
Yeah.
But then
Oh,
you're
I
like
know.
limitless kind
I've
of.
tried. My husband also has never been able to or tried, and I've been trying to pull him out of his body
Oh,
so
yeah.
hard. So I'll like hover, like I'll try to be slow because normally I like to zoom when I leave my body. So I've been trying to hover, stay in the bedroom. I'm like, okay, pull his spirit out, and I'm like above him, like just grabbing at him. One time after trying this for like 2 weeks, and I kept telling him, I was like, babe, I'm gonna pull you out. Um, I pulled him out. I was so excited. But I just pulled him out and he was right there in the bedroom. But he was just like with those characters, like on the fourth dimension plane, just
Oh,
standing there,
yeah.
like just not moving. I was
Yeah.
so sad. I was so proud of myself. I worked so
Yeah.
hard pulling out. He's right there and he's just a non. I was like, no, I was like trying to ghost gobble him and it didn't work out. And I was like, okay, well, and then I just flew away.
Huh.
Um, but
That's
I was
so,
excited
did your,
with that. It took me
oh, yeah.
a while, but
Did your husband, when he woke up that morning or whatever, did he say that he experienced anything weird or like
no,
he
no
slept
clue.
good or,
He was just
huh?
completely, yeah,
That's so interesting. Yeah. Huh.
yeah.
Wow. You would think with something like that happening, to your astral body, you would feel or say, you'd be like,
I
oh, I
know,
felt
you would
something,
think.
like, I had this weird dream or something like that,
Yeah.
huh.
I know, I was pretty bummed.
Hey, you got them out though. That's got to take a lot of energy and a skill.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. It took me a couple weeks of trying. And that's another thing I've been trying to practice too in the astral world is picking stuff up. I've been trying to because normally I just feel like you're kind of like a little ghost spirit, like you can't really, you put your hands through walls almost, you can zoom through anything like matter, you can't hold things. Um, so I've been practicing trying to pick up stuff, which takes a lot of energy. And I was able to pick something up recently and I was pretty proud of myself.
Wow.
Uh,
So, well, first, when you say pick up things, are you talking about picking up like a physical thing in the third dimension, like a pot or something, or like,
yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
not
So
something in
I'll
the astral that's ghosty. You're talking about
Right,
picking up
staying
something
on
physical.
this. So that's interesting. So sometimes you can astral project, but you're still obviously on this third dimensional plane. Like you're around, you can fly around. I spent a lot of time flying around my neighborhood. There's this beautiful tree nearby that I spend a lot of time by. So I'm on this dimension. So, but normally on this dimension, I feel more ghost-like, translucent, like you can't really interact with things. And I have been able to a couple times interact. Um, which I want gives me questions about what are ghosts when people, oh, the ghost is turning on this thing or doing these things. What if that's just, some astral projector,
Oh yeah,
who's just trying to test their skills or whatever? Because I feel like I do, you know, and we
yeah,
just interpret it that way or something.
yeah.
Because I play the piano, and so I wanted to go to some fancy recording studio. I set the intention and I was in somebody's recording studio and there was just this beautiful like piano and I was like, oh, I want to play it. I want to play it. And I was like geeking out. And I remember sitting there and again, it's like little ghost hands. It was like, I was like not working, nothing's happening. And I'm like, I want to play it. And I with so much focus was like trying to push. And then I was able to actually hit a couple and I was like trying to play like airplaying like a song but it was like every couple notes I was actually able to like strike it and push it and
Whoa.
feel it. And then it was funny because someone came running in from the other room
I was just about to, in my
and
mind, I was thinking that I was like, so yeah, it's like a classic situation of
no,
somebody
they
talking
did.
about a ghost
Yeah.
like
This guy
being
comes
haunted.
running in the room looking around like, what the fuck? And then I was just like kind of zoomed into the ceiling a little bit. I was like, oh no, they couldn't see me or anything. But I was like realizing because they were looking around like, and I was like, oh, was I a ghost playing the piano right now? And that was like,
Yeah, you're
I
like,
was proud of myself in that moment because it took so much. I was like, ah, and I
yeah.
played some keys. So
Wow, that's amazing. So what, all right, so let's dissect that really quick. So what did it take then to interact with the physical? You had tons of intention, right? You had
it
massive
felt
intention.
like force. Like right now, if I'm lifting something heavy, if you're straining, like oh, like it felt like I was doing that from the inside out. Like I really
Oh,
had to like oh, like pushing through matter, like a heaviness,
yeah.
if that makes sense. Like that's
Yeah.
the only way I know how to
Yeah,
explain it.
well,
Like
it kind of,
pushing.
yeah, yeah, that almost reminds me, or I mean, it makes me think of like me being right here and like there's some tissue paper over there and me, can you see my hands? Like, like a Dragon Ball Z thing and trying to like push it
Yeah.
right now and thinking I'm doing it and trying to use my
Yeah.
force.
Yeah.
It sounds a lot kind of similar to that.
Yeah.
Is that what you would say?
It feels kind of like that, but just more like straining. Like I feel like it was like,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
just energetically like pushing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wow, that's amazing. I wonder how far someone can go with that. I wonder if
Yeah.
someone can have so much energy and be so masterful at that that they could go in there and in their astral form and just go to town on that piano and just play, some amazing song from beginning to end. Or you know what I mean? Do you think that you can
Yeah.
get to a level as a
I
projector
think
to do
so.
something like that?
I think so. And that's where I've thought a lot about too, with just the spiritual implications of like, you always talk about like, oh, becoming a body of light. it's that heat, I think, when we're able to reach that level of like ascension or whatever, essentially your body is turning into just heat, like fire. That's that light. So it's that same kind of feeling, I feel like, when you're interacting with like the piano, it's more of like a heat. It's like a does that I don't know if that
Huh.
answers your question. No,
No,
but
that's interesting.
um
So like so you're saying that there's a heat element to the interaction part. There's like a buildup of heat and then you
I think so, or just
wield
of
it in a certain way.
energy in general. So I think like too, like the higher we can get our vibration, so it's going faster,
Oh
which
yeah.
is like friction, which is like how fire, which is so I think it's a different. So I think it's that energetic branch which we can constantly change, the wavelengths of our body to obviously produce. So I think that's how when you're become literally as fast as something can go, there's so much heat and force involved that so that's where I believe that you can get better at that. I think the higher and faster your vibration goes, right, then you're able to kind of do anything, right? I think that's like when Jesus ascended and was able to like leave his body or go wherever he wanted, materialize anywhere, he can interact with this world. I kind of think of it as like almost like an ascension thing. So like the stronger you get, higher your vibration gets to that point, the more you're able to move between worlds in such a tangible way where you can interact with the different dimensions.
Yeah.
That's my personal belief.
Yeah. I that resonates with me and I believe I haven't given it enough thought to be like that's exactly what I believe too, but that sounds right to me. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. That's really cool. Really cool. Um yeah, so I don't know. I don't there's not like unfortunately there's not a book that you can maybe there is a book that exists
I
out there
know.
that you can read and be like, all right, this is how you practice in the astral or else even in the physical to get to that point. I don't know if something like that exists, but you would probably be studying that right now, wouldn't you?
I probably would be, yeah.
That's cool. So what's it been like living day to day, being able to astral project? Is it any different? Like, I don't know, just being a human walking around, but but you can astral project and other people can't.
I know. It is it's kind of honestly it's isolating a lot of the times. You just feel I don't know. Like sometimes I just feel like I'd rather just be home and go astral project than be talking to these random people about nothing or you
Oh
know.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you're probably like,
it's
this
just
is silly. We're talking about gossip or something or some
yeah.
drama. And it's like, it'd be
And
a lot
that's
cooler if I
where
was APing.
I don't know. I just feel like I treat my life like it's just magic. I like to pretend I'm a magical little fairy just living my life. Um, I don't know. I just like to find more just the beauty of nature and just make everything magical. I try to tell my kids about this stuff. I just want to inspire just that, connection to just spirituality and beyond. And there's so much more. So it's really changed, I guess, in my life in that sense too, of that stronger connection to trying to really figure out what is the meaning of life, how, what are we supposed to do? And just, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. That's the classic question right there, the meaning to life.
Yeah.
Because
Especially when,
because how do you feel about the more you progress in this area of the metaphysical and stuff? How do you like, how do I put this? Like, as a kid, you're whatever, if you're into religion or whatever, if you've grown up in religion, you're like, okay, this is the meaning of life. There's God and I pray and I'm going to go to heaven or hell and all that. But then like, as you become more skilled in the metaphysical, do you feel like there's a massive shift? Not saying you're coming from exactly what I just said, but there's
mhm.
probably like definitely a massive shift in feeling of like, I feel like the more that I learn about how things work in the metaphysical and things that I believe to be true, um, that like there's this weird, not like energy and spice for life in this physical, but it's almost like I'm dampened a little bit here in the physical when it comes to meanings and when it comes to like highs and lows. I almost become just more neutral in general. Not saying some things are you're not trying to stick up for good or anything like that, but it just
Yeah, no,
doesn't
I
it
think I
doesn't
know
hit you
what
the
you mean.
same. Uh,
It doesn't. And I think that's the point too. I'll never forget, which is from some book I read. Right now, that whole the negative aspects where everybody's like, you're it's like this is like the opposites. So our whole perception of opposites is like the opposite of happiness is sadness. That's not true. So when we're talking about spirituality, and I think when you reach that certain point, and this kind of goes back to the thing you're talking about, the neutralness that you feel. So the opposite of extreme happiness should be contentment. So the bar is just of all of these negative emotion things, these are just erased and it's set differently. So instead of just like extreme, like, oh, this day is so fun, you're just peaceful and content. That's the opposite. You don't have to, like you said, no, when you see somebody being an asshole, whoa, don't do that, do this. But you're coming from that neutral place to where that part of you, those negative, like just anger and guilt and these things just don't exist anymore. And sadness in the way of like the deep agony, that just means that you get upset because you want to fight for justice and you want to just love everyone. But there is that neutrality where it just everything changes, where you're like, you don't need to suffer like that mentally, and like, let's fix it. So I think
yeah.
there is that neutrality, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
um,
So you have kind of felt that then as
mhm.
you've grown in your way in the
Yeah.
metaphysical. Do you think have you ever tried to search for answer? I bet you have tried to search for answers in the astral of just like the meaning and what's beyond and all
Yeah.
that.
The biggest thing, which I swear, like a mad scientist, I have these notes. Um, I was asking those kind of questions, and my one of my spirit guides, I guess, I was like, "Can you explain to me what's going on? Take me." And I was flown to this place. It was like a space station type thing, but it was like very small and empty. And we went inside, and there was this blue humanoid person, I guess, like laying in this what looked like a little hospital bed. It was like a blue guy laying there. And the next bed, there was this red guy laying there, and he was like on fire. And then there was like an empty bed. And somehow I felt like I was being shown like, I don't know, I feel like we're some type of experiment of mixing species or something. And I felt like, and I was watching, this was in the blue guy and the red guy. And then once the blue guy, it was like the fire, like his skin turned red. It was like the mixing of those two energies of like blue and red, which now I've come to think I'm like, okay, this must represent what we know as water and fire, like the elements coming together,
Oh yeah.
mixed with something that created what we are as humans, sort of. And then, of course, I was like, what's the third bed? It was empty.
Oh,
And then I was just zoomed out into um, just seeing like the human organs like blown up. And I'm like in space, and it was just flying me through the human body. And I still don't know. It
oh,
didn't answer my question. It just showed me
oh.
that. And then I was like, I was flying through the human body from the inside out.
It like answered
Um,
it in some symbolic way or something like
I
that.
was been trying to
And
figure it
now,
out.
and then the classic. All right, figure it
I'm
out
like,
now.
can you just
That's
tell me?
yeah, I
Yeah.
know. Just be straight up with me. Let me know
Yeah.
what's going on.
Oh, it's
Um,
so funny too. My 10 years ago, I feel like it was like my mission. One of my spirit guides was like, your mission on this life is you got to figure out, it's all about what's the difference, but meaning in between, what's the difference between light and dark? Like, what is in between the transition of light and dark? And apparently, that's my life mission. One day I'm going to figure it out and write a book.
oh,
So
interesting. Wow.
I've been doing a lot of research and study on, of course, like science wise of that. I've had thousands of interpretations of what that means, breaking it down in different all types of ways, metaphorical, physical.
Oh wow,
But I feel
really?
like it relates, yeah. But I feel
So
like it relates to what I was shown on that astral projection. But I haven't really pieced it together.
Well, yeah, that's really interesting. Well, a couple of things in the beds that you had, the beds that you saw, the blue and the red and the empty. I was thinking the fire was representing like the spirit or like the consciousness that we have as humans, and then that was being put together. But that kind of, and then that was being brought together to show the human being created.
Yeah, with the
But that
organs.
makes more sense though. The water and fire, the two like main elements here that we're like composed of. But then and then like, I don't know, it's just really interesting. But then oh, so what's in between light and dark? So that's the big question. So
Mhm.
what about the whole like we live in a duality world where like you don't know good without evil, you don't know happiness without sadness. What about you don't know light without dark?
Yeah.
Does that
And
like what
see,
is
I used to believe that. I used to be really into the duality thing until I realized that that's a trap. I think that's the trap that the ego set up for us. I think it's not dual. And I think that's where the triangle, like the Trinity thing comes into play. I think we're missing something and it's not dual like that. So,
Yeah, no, that was really cool. I
um,
love to hear about the like the example you gave earlier about saying instead of happiness and sadness, it's happiness and contempt.
yeah.
Content. Um, so yeah, I like that a lot more
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
and
Because
I
I feel
never
like
heard
the
that before.
duality is almost like a spell on mankind, kind of, if that makes sense. Like, they say, like, they literally call words spelling and be careful what you say,
Right.
that the universe doesn't understand any negatives, that we've changed the human language in general. Like if we say, I do not like chicken, all the universe, like it doesn't know the word not. It doesn't understand this concept of these negatives, this dual. It doesn't understand that. It just understands this one thing. So remove that. So instead of speaking, and we are taught to speak in this cursing manner by believing in this duality to such an extreme. And I think that's the biggest problem with a lot of people. Um,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
lost my thought there. Um,
Well, yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah, that's really the spelling and everything. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The the duality thing though is interesting to me because I almost feel like it's a like I could be completely wrong, but it almost feels like it's necessary. I don't know enough about the other options out there other than a non-duality system, and
right.
it'd be nice to learn more about that for sure. But as far as what I have learned and know about now, it almost, and tell me what you think, it almost feels like it's necessary to have a dualistic setup in here in the third dimension because can you know one thing without knowing the opposite of it? Can you know light without dark? Is it possible to know happiness without sadness? You know what I mean? Is it necessary for it to become a thing that we
Right.
know is true? Like, what do you say to that? I don't know. Is it necessary?
And that's where, I don't know, that's where I almost feel like it's part of that cursed trap that, yeah, maybe that is the point of us being here as humans, if it's an experiment, is just to experience pain, to experience suffering in general. Because if we are these wonderful just beings of oneness with the universe, then all we know is just love and bliss. So maybe that was because it was like, let's rip ourselves apart so we can experience something new. Like we created pain for no reason. So I think of it almost as that, just like an experiment gone wrong. So I
Yeah.
don't know if it really is like we need it per se. I think it was something that we created out of curiosity.
Yeah. And yeah, you're probably right. And you know, like I don't know, I'm not some guru, I'm not some genius that knows everything, but it's like it seems like an example of like somebody that isn't that educated that has learned about the dualistic system and that's kind of all he knows. So I'm like, oh, so that must be it. So it's almost like I could be a victim of that trap possibly until I know about something else and learn about something else that resonates that I believe to be true. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I don't really know, like the Trinity thing was an interesting concept. I never heard of that as far as disrupting the whole
Well,
dualistic.
my biggest thing, and I guess it kind of ties into the duality that I have kind of learned, if we were this thing, um, if you've ever heard of like, so like the elemental spirits, so that would be like the main elements, like earth, water, fire, air, essentially. So, and
And
I
then
think this is
spirit,
why we have these.
don't they say spirit and
So
consciousness is like the fifth or something like
it's
that?
in every, yes, that's what I say. So let's assume we're talking about those things. So let's say that as human beings able to be on this planet with like physical things, we are combined. They, when you learn about like fire elemental spirits, like it's like the spirit of like what is literally fire, what is its job? It doesn't have thoughts and emotions. Its job is burn, destroy, consume, just movement, fire. So then water, same thing. It doesn't have like consciousness per se. It just is. It's just fluid, it's moving. And same for air. When you break down what are these elements mean and think of them as terms as living spirits that don't have consciousness per se, and then you're that's us. You put all of those things, like we have the fire spirit in us is like our digestive system, and then you have the air is like our lungs, our breathing. We have the air spirit inside of our body, and then you have the earth spirit. That's what slows us down into this physical form, because like the earth spirit, that's like rocks and just nothing that moves. So it's like they combined all of those physical elements into our body, but with that higher, that spirit, that whatever. And that's what we are as humans. And we feel that constant dual nature fighting, because that's like, imagine putting four people that speak literal different languages
Uh,
in one body. They're arguing. What are you talking about? The fire spirit inside of our bodies is like, no, 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 burn it, burn the house down. We're constantly fighting like we are like four different people, beings in one body. And I think that's too where we get this whole, and where the whole point of life and everything they say is to bring them into balance, find that perfect nature to where those fighting elements can become one, work together symbiotically, and then you are getting to that neutral point, that balance point, that new zero point, um, to where it becomes something else, to where then there isn't, if that makes sense, like to
yeah.
become all one instead of that. But I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's like a
definitely.
little side
That's
tangent
no,
there.
that's really cool. I like that a lot. That's really cool. Yeah, it's to find that balance and to find yeah, for sure. Do you ever find that you're having conversations with people and then most of the time it's like, yeah, you got to find that balance. I find that happening a lot with my conversations.
Yeah.
It's just it always comes back to balance. Yeah, you got to balance that out. Yeah, it's really interesting, Ashley. I yeah, would like to understand more and learn more about that, the other systems, I guess, other than the big dualistic one. So
Yeah.
yeah. Um uh yeah. So um well, I have a lot of questions. This is the point of the thing. Okay, so now Ashley, I got to ask you. So, what do you want to do? Because I don't want to hold you forever. You know what I mean?
You're good.
If it was up to me, I'd like to interview you for as long as you want. You know what I mean? But I definitely don't want
Yeah.
to drag you along. Um, but I wanted to talk about a lot of your astral projections and just you
Mhm.
be able to share a lot of,
Yeah.
cool ones, scary ones, interesting ones, prophetic ones,
Yeah.
just all sorts of stuff, your favorites, best feelings, whatever. And then, yeah, I just had a few, I guess, like technical questions about stuff like teleportation, telepathy, like your senses, like touch, smell. Um, the planes. We kind of talked about that a little bit, the dimensions and everything. Yeah, so would you want to kind of go into now where we just talk a lot about your experiences?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. We can do that.
All right.
Um,
Yeah.
one of my more recent astral projection experiences, that was new, was that I didn't know could be done, but I guess you can. I I don't know. I wasn't saying like I became math. No. So I astral projected and I was in this museum. and I was looking at, there was this whale statue. It was huge, and it was like, it looks like it was made of silver, and it had these spirals, and it had these like number sequence. It was like zero something, just went all the way up with these weird numbers. And then I was looking on the inside, and it had these math problems in there. And I was staring at it, thinking this is so cool. Tried to pick it up, I couldn't move it. So then I just set the intention. I was like, I want to be what this math problem is. Like, what is this trying to show me? So I just was kind of like, okay, I want to experience this math problem. And then I felt myself just being like kind of slowly sucked in. And then I didn't exist anymore in the way that you would. And I was just this pattern. I just feel myself just moving, like it was like up and then like down fast and then like around and then like up and then down and then around. And then it kind of did this weird move, and it just went over and over. It was just this pattern. I just became this pattern, and I didn't have sight like I normally do. I didn't have the normal senses like I do. And the crazy part was that I felt like a sensation of just bliss, love, ecstasy. I just felt like I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing, but like without having thoughts. It was just like, it just felt ecstatic, and I was just repeating this pattern over and over and over, and I would have probably died happily there forever. And actually my spirit guide had to fly in and pull me out, because I'm not a person anymore. I don't have thoughts anymore. Like, okay, let's go back to your body. I became this, whatever this math problem was, I just became that pattern, and I was one with it. It just was that.
Wow.
And that was
That's so
such an
interesting.
intense, that was an intense, like
The,
just the sensation.
yeah.
And it
What?
was,
Well, number one, my question is like, does that museum exist somewhere? And is that an actual whale statue
I
with a math problem?
looked far and wide. I was Googling, and I can't find anything that exists
Huh.
that looks like this whale.
Yeah.
I painted it the other day because I was like,
Oh.
I was like, man, I gotta get silver and I gotta make it now.
Oh.
Um,
But yeah,
and I don't know, from my
I
research, I was
wonder.
trying to figure out what it was. I couldn't find anything that looked similar. But I was thinking that maybe I went into a Fibonacci sequence pattern.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I was looking up more images of that, and the way that the numbers kind of went, that when I was like kind of following the movements of that felt kind of like what it was.
Yeah.
So I was like, I think I was a Fibonacci sequence for a second, or
Yeah.
what felt like 20 minutes.
Yeah. Wow.
Um,
The Fibonacci sequence. And that's like one of bliss, it sounds like. So
yeah.
when you say that feeling, is it, I don't mean to be rude or distasteful by saying this, but is it like a sex orgasmic feeling, or is it
Kind of,
something
yeah,
else?
it kind of was. And that's when I think I mentioned to my husband the Fibonacci sequence artists use and everything, and they use the word pleasure. Like, it's pleasurable to the eye, right? Just the way, whatever it is, it does something to our brain where we experience pleasure. And that's what it felt like, but not in a sexual way, because as a pattern, there is no sexuality. You know what I mean? But it did feel pleasurable,
Like,
like I guess you
like
could say,
similar.
kind of in an orgasmic type way. But
Yeah.
if like you're like sex doesn't exist, this just is something that just is ongoing for eternity,
Yeah.
and there's
Yeah.
nothing else, kind of thing.
Yeah.
um
Wow.
but
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Wow. So then the Fibonacci, yeah, I wonder if you'll be able to find, it's almost like one day you'll just be checking something out and you'll be like, you'll just come across that whale statue in like a magazine or something like that. And you'll be like,
I know.
oh,
Or I was
I
like,
don't
some
know.
rich guy has it somewhere,
Yeah.
maybe. And that's why I wondered. I was like, I don't know if we can project into the future, but I was like, maybe it doesn't exist yet, and it will.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe you're the one that creates it or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
So
I've heard some stories about astral projectors, like that Rick guy I was telling you about. He's
mhm.
intentionally projected into potential futures. I I think he calls them potentials. Yeah, he even calls them potential futures, where he
Yeah.
says like this is what ends up happening if, at least in that
Right. If the
timeline.
sequence goes. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but have you tried to project into the past or future or anything
I
like
have
that?
not. No, not on purpose.
You're not interested in doing that right now either?
Yeah, not really, I
Yeah.
guess. There's so much to explore, I feel like, anyways. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that, you know,
Yeah. Um, well, that's cool. So that's definitely got to be one of your favorite astral projections for sure, huh? Is that up
yeah,
there like your top three or something?
it's up there now. That happened last week, so it's more fresh in my mind. So,
That's cool. Um, what about you said you had an encounter with an angel being well in the physical here in the third dimension, but have you ever had any angelic or demonic encounters that were pretty intense for projections?
yeah, when I first started trying to go more regularly, I had the most, I feel like, demonic encounters, um, a lot, actually. And that took a while to kind of, I almost feel like I had to almost mirror them to get them to go away. Like that worked finally, like the first time. I was just like, I had to set the intention of like, I had to morph into like a demon myself
Huh.
and just be like, I am you, so leave kind of thing. Um, which was kind of wild. Um,
Do you think that happened more because it was the beginning of you astral projecting, so there was more fear involved?
I think so for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And I've also heard about somebody else. It's actually the Rick guy. He's probably the number one projector out there that I've been following for the longest time. So he says that he would dress himself in a dark cloak, and so nobody can see his face when he goes into darker or lower dimensions. So then he's not bothered because I guess
Yeah.
they're seen as more powerful. So it kind of
Mhm.
reminds me of what you do, and you
Yeah,
just
you kind of blend in, yeah, act like them, become like them to not be bothered because it is almost like I feel like they are almost leeches, like just kind of
uh,
leech
attract.
onto people depending on,
Oh yeah,
I guess, if you have any fear or doubts, it's just like they're just on you.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so yeah.
It's interesting how it works. Um, Yeah, and then also, can't you have you ever had any experiences where you like create a light sword or you just turn into a big ball of light and that makes them go away because it's or even Jesus saying Jesus's name or anything like that?
Yeah, that's worked for me before. I've had one time where normally I'm pretty good. A lot of times, if like a negative entity's messing with me, typically will go back to my body and wait a little bit and then try to project going to a different place. But I have had this one time where and I think it was because again, that fear frequency, I don't know, these parasites are attracted to it. I was projecting along some beach somewhere and there was like some drone and I was trying to mess with it and it started shooting at me. So then I got fearful. Um and then it was like I glitched into this other dimension trying to go back to my body and there was just demons, dark creatures. There was just this one, I'll never forget. It just felt like this huge black shadowy thing with these big red eyes, and it was probably like a 20-foot by 20-foot type being,
Oh
and
wow!
it said really ominously, it was like, your soul is mine. Like
Oh man,
literally. It
like
was
from a
like,
video game or something like that.
yeah, straight out of it. It's like, okay. And I'm trying to like zoom away from it, just like, you can't touch me, but it, like, after it said that, your soul is mine, I couldn't. And I said to myself, I'm like, okay, like, let's glitch somewhere else, like, go back to your body. And I couldn't. And
Oh
that scared me. I was like, because normally I'll just go back to my body and I couldn't. And I felt like I was being sucked to it, which was pretty wild. I was like, this is weird. Like, I'm acting like I couldn't get away from it. So I, in that moment, was like screaming. I was like, I'm not yours. And I called on Jesus Christ.
oh
I
nice,
was like, I was
Nice.
like, "Oh, my name of Jesus Christ, you can't mess with me." And I had to like scream and shake. And it was interesting. Then I saw myself going back when I entered my room. It was like slow-mo watching myself, my body on the bed. I could see myself and my mouth was moving because I was screaming. It took so much energy to scream an astral projection that to get away that in the physical, my mouth was, and I was mumbling. And then I watched myself and then I went back into my body and
Whoa.
that worked.
Wow. That's
Um,
amazing. That's amazing. So, yeah, well, there it is. So calling on Jesus saved you, it sounds like, or it empowered
is
you to the
it?
point where, and I don't know, do you think he actually showed up and saved you, or do you think it brought you so much empowerment and like
I think
um,
it brought
light
me
energy
empowerment. Yeah. I feel like it was the
that,
empowerment of just, yeah, owning it. I didn't feel like another being necessarily came or anything at
yeah.
that time. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So that was probably the closest encounter you've had to something like intense like that or malicious like that. Like the most,
Yeah. Where I felt like I couldn't get away.
yeah.
I've gotten into, which it's there's this, which was interesting. There's this guy who's always in a black hood. Now that you mentioned, I'm like, is that
Oh,
Rick? No, kidding.
yeah.
No, because this guy was bad news bears.
Uh,
Um, I've encountered some creepy dude on the astral plane that has this hood, and he was like stalking me on the astral plane for a long time. Actually, it was like really creeping me out. I'd be doing something, he would just come out of nowhere and be like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, and I would just be like, "Go away! Like, why are you here? Like, get
I'm
out of
not
here!"
interested. Get out of here.
You know what I mean? And then he like kidnapped my astral body, locked me in this thing as like a test. And he was just like, "Well, let's see if you can get out of that," like playing games with me. And I was so pissed. I was like, "Bro." And I remember being like, it was just this weird, like cagey thing, but I took control and I was like, okay, using all of my focus. And I was like, I can just project out of here. Like, you can't control me. And I did. I like went out of it and then I started zooming around and he caught up with me and he grabbed me again. And then he put me in this other scenario. I was in this creepy warehouse thing with all of these little demon creatures coming for me, but he was talking. It was like he disappeared, but he was like a voice in my head. And he was just like, "I bet you can't control it now." And I was like, God, this fucking guy.
You're like, this
Um,
game's dumb. I don't want to play it
I was,
anymore.
yeah, I was so annoyed. And so then I just like turned myself into like a giant spider and like chased him away. And then he was just like, "Interesting." And then it took me, and next thing I know, I'm in this weird white room of nothingness. And there was these, so he was the one, he was wearing the black hood. And then all of a sudden, there was like four other people came in. We're in just a white room of nothingness. These other people came in that were in white hoods themselves. And I'm just at this point screaming at this guy. I'm like, "Get away from me. I don't know what you want from me. Leave me alone." And these people all surrounded me, and he was just smirking at me. And they grabbed my proverbial arm and like injected me with something. And then I just remember blacking out, like pointing at that guy. Um, and that was, and then that was that. And then I was back in my body. And actually, after that instance, I was not able to project for 2 months.
Oh,
I
wow.
felt like they put something on my energy body to stop me or something because
Yeah.
that was wild. And
Huh.
I was pissed. I mean, I'm searching the internet. I'm like, how can you even do that? That doesn't even make, you know what I mean? I'm like, that doesn't make sense. You can't
Yeah.
just like, there's no, it didn't make sense. And I was
Yeah, it
like,
just doesn't make
why?
sense just
And
straight
I
up.
was so good at being able to go. I was like, this weird thing, and I can't go all of a sudden. Um, so that was pretty wild. I was like, yeah,
Well,
crying that I was like never gonna astral project ever
oh, I
again.
bet. Oh man, and this was
Uh,
how long have you been astral projecting before that happened? Like,
so this is
when did that
probably like
happen?
this was probably like a year and a half ago.
Okay, so
So this
halfway.
was halfway through where I'm at now, yeah,
Wow.
of being regular. But it was just a couple
So
months, luckily.
yeah,
And I haven't seen
and you
him.
cut and you good. I hope you never do. That sounds crazy. So you did you You kept practicing and trying to even for those months, and then
I did.
finally it just happened. You didn't do anything different,
Yeah.
but then just finally it
Nope.
just.
I just was finally able to do it.
Oh, good
Yeah.
for you. Good for you,
Yeah.
Ashley. I'm glad you. Yeah, that's so weird because, yeah, so they do that, right? And they don't. They do that. They put that thing on you or whatever in the
Right.
astral, and then you're like, you don't correlate that even. They didn't say, okay, you're not going to be able to astral project. We're doing this to you.
Right. No.
You don't even think about that having anything to
Oh,
do with you not astral projecting, and then it just
right.
happens. So then it makes you, yeah, it just makes you wonder, like, what? How is that even
Yeah. Well,
possible? What the hell was that?
right.
Yeah, it's so many questions, but huh, that's so weird though because it sounds like while that was happening, just like all the weird little torment things that games that he would play with you, couldn't like you said you used your powers like you turned into a big spider and stuff, and couldn't you said that you zoomed away and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but
For
even
some
though
reason, he kept coming back
so
and
even though
like,
you did all that stuff, you had temporarily relief and stuff like that, but then like
mhm.
he would just show up again or something like that.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, it's so weird. What could you have done to like just make him evaporate? Did
Right.
it just seemed like he was just a more powerful being or something like that? And that's why,
Yeah. And
yeah,
just the energy was so just dark and taunting and
yeah,
just, it just felt like, yeah, like he was playing with me, like I'm a little
yeah,
mouse. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe you've advanced to a point where it's not even possible for him to like touch you and get to that point, like where you're
Yeah.
at now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
I think
interesting
so.
though. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, Well, and then that's cool. So the angels, though, you've had some experience with benevolent beings, really powerful benevolent beings.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you ever interact with the like a lot of eyes angel that like did you ever
So
find that?
I never did find that being, which that was the whole, yeah. I was like, I want to meet that same spirit that I saw that
Yeah,
1 year, but I haven't. Um, no.
maybe you will because you still kind of have an urge to.
Yeah.
Do you? Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
that's really cool though. Any encounters that you want to mention though that have been with other angels or anything like that?
Um, there was this weird one that I had with the angel when um I had landed on kind of that cliff top. I didn't go into like any of the buildings this time, and there was only a few angels out there. Um, and I this time for some reason, whoever the angel I was trying to interact with, they were ignoring me like I wasn't there. And I felt like I was just watching more so. And so I've went up to this one angel and they had this little sword thing. And I'm just trying to do that. I'm like, I have to remind myself, don't touch stuff.
Oh,
I like
oh, like
touched the
a sharp
sword.
thing? Like you shouldn't
I don't
just touch.
know. That was a mistake. Uh it just immediately felt like it electrocuted me, but without pain, if that makes sense. It's just like a weird thing. It was just kind of like a warning, like, don't touch this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I was so fascinated by that. I was like, what in the world? And then the angel kind of turned to me, and then it did acknowledge me, but it didn't say anything. It just kind of looked at me. And I was like, okay. And then I walked through this thing, and then there was these other two angels guarding some door. And I was trying to go into the door. They wouldn't let me in the door. They didn't want me to go in there.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember feeling this burning sensation on my thigh, like on my leg. And it was like, um, and I didn't know what was going on. And I'm just standing there. I couldn't get into the door, and they weren't saying anything to me, but I had this burning sensation in my leg. And I remember reaching my hand to my leg, and I was pulling. It was like there was a sword in my leg, a golden sword thing in my thigh. And
Huh.
I remember being like, what in the hell? And trying to pull on it. And that was weird to me because it did like feel painful. And I kept pulling it until I pulled it out. And then it was and then everybody looked at me and like they were just like pissed. And I'm holding this sword that I pulled out of my leg. And then I was just kind of like, I got to get out of here. And then I flew away, and then I went back to my body. But I've
Wow.
always think about that. I'm like, there's a golden sword in my thigh, I guess,
Yeah.
on the astral plane. I was like,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool, I guess. But I don't know. It was just weird. It was like it knew, I don't know. I
Yeah.
But it
What
was weird how being there.
did it show up in your thigh when you touched the sword? Like when you
So that's what I
got
was wondering. Like I
electrocuted?
touched the one from the other one. Yeah, that's what I felt like. That somehow from me touching that, it was like I was implanted with one or something, like
Yeah.
on the astral, and I don't know. It was just a weird.
And then you
It,
take it out and you're making a commotion and everybody looks over at you
yeah,
like, come on. Like, what are
yeah.
you
Like
doing?
who is this? Like get out of here.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, bye.
That's interesting. Wow. That's yeah. Huh. Yeah. I wonder. Um what about like any planets or anything that you've ever any interesting planets that you've projected to?
Yeah. So I've been to the moon twice,
Oh.
which is oddly enough, and that took a lot of intention and focus for a couple weeks. I was working on that. I was like, I want to go to the moon. I want to go to the moon. Well, when I finally did, um, the weird thing is the energy of the moon is not good for me. I don't know.
Oh.
I just did not get good vibes. I did not want to explore. I instantly was just like, nope, we got to get out of here. And it was weird because
Oh.
I just kind of walked around, just not much at all. And I just felt this overwhelming like urgency of like get out of there, even
Huh.
though I couldn't see anything. It was just all just like this like dusty white land. um
Could you were you
Rock.
on the bright side or the dark side of the moon or did you not
I
know
guess
or
I'm not sure, but I would
yeah.
assume maybe a bright side. I
Could
could
you
see
could
like
you see Earth and stuff from
like
there?
rocks. I didn't look back, but I
Yeah.
could see like the black space, around me.
Yeah.
But I didn't stay long.
Yeah, the vibe, it just
um
wasn't feeling
yeah, just
good.
the vibe was really weird. I just did not want to linger there. um a cool place I've went before after, because a lot of times I have been to a 2D plane, which
Oh,
again, do not recommend.
why?
um
Why not?
well,
What's up with the 2D plane?
and a lot of times too, like I'll just kind of be flying through these, which my favorite is when I fly through some wormhole and it's like triangles with eyeballs in them, all just blinking as I'm just flying through it. And then I'll just like go through like one eye and end up somewhere else. So I'll like go through like a thing. So this was that I was flying, this time I was flying through like flashes of rainbow lights, of like a wormhole thing. And then I just kind of pivot through the side to like jump out of it. And then I was on this 2D plane. It was like, I don't even know how to explain it.
Is
If
it
I had to compare it to anything, it was like Legos or something. Like you're just, everything was so
is it like
flat everywhere.
when you watch a not a Mickey Mouse cartoon or something or like a Tom and Jerry or like when you play a side-scrolling video game where it's just two dimensions, is it like that where
So
it's
this was
left to
more
right?
like there was just more square and rectangle shapes kind of only, if that makes sense. So it was just so maybe that was like a little different. I don't know if it was like 2D, maybe it was more than that. But it just felt like
Just super
I
simple?
couldn't move like in the wind, like normally how I can fly away like around and like interact with places. It was very slow. It was like I was moving through molasses, and it
Oh.
was like I felt like a weird square, like a Lego piece or something. And it looked very much like different Lego blocks everywhere, but flat with no space around it. Um, is the only
Oh.
way I know how to kind of explain like it was just like a place of just like these like square shapes kind of in different patterns. And it was very just suffocating and it felt very
Oh.
flat. Like I was just like pressed, trying to kind of just move through it. And you couldn't do a whole lot there. There was like nothing
Yeah.
going on really, but those. patterns of these like flat squares, which was pretty
So,
wild.
so what did you do? You were like, all right, I'm done with this
So
place. I'm just,
yeah, I was trying to explore, but it was like moving through molasses. So I stayed for a few minutes, kind of flying through it a little bit, and then I was like, no. And then I just kind of jumped out, luckily. Um,
yeah, you don't want to
so
get stuck there, right? Doesn't sound like
no,
fun.
no.
That's,
Um,
oh, what were you going to say?
I don't know. I forget.
The going through the tunnel, it's interesting because it reminds me of like a random number generator where like when you just shoot out, it's like just some
Yeah,
random, who knows where you're
yeah.
going. It's just randomly
And that's
generated.
how it is most of the time for me. Most of the time I'm projecting, I'll just go through different wormholes and I just get shot out somewhere that I have no clue
Yeah.
um, where I'm
Huh.
going, unless I'm just flying. Sometimes I'll feel like I'm actively flying out of Earth into the and just into space, and then just flying through space sometimes, just like void of anything. Um, I do that a lot. Um,
How's that? Is that peaceful being out there in
it
space?
is. It is actually. So I do like a lot of times I will just be kind of flying through space. One time it was interesting. I did find this place. I was just kind of flying through space and just, you know, stars, fireballs here and there. And there was this, it almost looked like a little floating island, but it's weird because in space too, when I can fly by planets and stuff, and they feel like circular. This was this place floating in space and it was flat. And so I was like, what the hell is that? And I stop on there and it looked like this little resort,
Huh.
small little place. It was just a bunch of pools and like different types of like what looked like pools, and like it almost looked like a bar. And
Huh.
there was different beings there. So that was the first time, and it was the coolest place. I was like, what it kind of tea hut little, I don't know, vacation is this? And it looked like it was a little stopping point for travelers in between places. And this is the first time I ever saw these type of creatures. There was these oh my god, they were huge compared to me to scale, probably like 100 feet tall
Whoa.
by 30 feet wide or something.
Whoa.
And there was like all black. They almost looked like Gumby or something. Like they were just had these like block legs and just kind of this like round bald head, but they had eyes and a mouth, no nose that I saw. And they were just walking around. There was like four of them there and they were kind of together. And then there were some like human looking people there. And then there was a few of these like blue alien looking people. They were kind of humanoid looking though, but they were blue. And I was just exploring. It was kind of cool. And I
That
remember
sounds
I
amazing.
put my feet in one of the pools, and then somebody, I think it was one of the blue guys, but he was telepathically speaking to me. He was like, "You don't want to go in that." He was like, "That's not for humans." He was like, "That's for somebody from a different planet who's like more dense." He's like, "That would be like a pool for them." He goes, "That's the human pool over there." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." And after looking at where I just dipped my foot in, I was like, "Whoa!" It just seemed like Jello or something.
Oh.
And it was like, that's a pool for someone else. And so I was just kind of like, and I was trying to ask questions. And this, what I thought was cool. So I was like, what is this place? Talking to the blue guy. And he was just like, yeah, he was like, actually, a human created this place after they passed away as their favorite, like an afterlife project kind of thing. He said there was some guy which I was like, that's cool. So we can die. We can just like create places and to kind of I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Wow. That's
that's,
amazing. That's so
so I thought
cool.
that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds amazing. So it was like a little resort area. It's not like a giant world that was flat. It was just like a floating island
No.
kind of a thing.
And it was cool because yeah, so like you're saying you're like sitting at a pool, you can see spaces like right here. Like space, you're in space is all around you.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you're going in and now all of a sudden there's like clouds or like a background. It was like, no, we're just in space and the backdrop is space and like it's here, you know,
Yeah,
but just
yeah.
like there was just
Well,
these pools and I
I'm
don't know.
trying to get a visualization. It's because this is such a cool thing to try to visualize. Was there like was it like barren ground? Was it grass? Was it like all resorty and this was
So it
nice?
felt more resorty, like it was
Yeah,
like a some type of tiled type
yeah,
floor with
just
like
really
no
nice
plants, but just open, like almost like modern. So like you're just overlooking space, and it's just a bunch of different huge pools, and then there was like
and some
bar and like
bars.
different sitting
And
areas of different
there
sizes,
are aliens
like
sitting on
huge,
the bar stools, just
just
sipping
hanging out.
drinks and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
that
cocktail and like
reminds
the
me of
big
Star.
black guys and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's even trippier to try to visualize because, like you said, they're like 20 by 30 giant beings that are just
yeah.
chilling with everybody. So
And
it's
it was
like,
big enough and they had like different size, yeah, like bars and pools like to scale. So this place,
oh
it was
yeah, yeah,
huge, but it felt small in a sense just because it was so modern and kind of sleek but long and big enough to accommodate, I guess, like different type of species. But it was just
yeah.
kind of like a little pit stop
It's
for,
like
I don't know.
it reminds me of Star Wars in the the bar on that one planet in Star Wars, the first one,
Yeah,
where they're all just like having a drink and all the
yeah,
aliens, all the different beings are like, like aliens are there having a drink. I don't know if you ever watched that. And then there's
yeah,
also a game I used to play a long time ago in like the 80s, and it was called Space Quest. And you were this guy
yeah,
named Roger Wilco, and you'd go around. It was one of those point click things where you try to solve something. Like, you come across a key at one point, just like walking around, and then you have to figure out, where do I use that key? But like there was an
yeah,
intergalactic like bar where you would go. It
yeah,
wasn't a big resort or anything like that, but all the aliens are sitting down having a drink. So it's really,
yeah. It
it's
was kind of like
yeah, that's
that.
so great.
And it
I
was
love
cool. And
that.
it,
I love that.
yeah. And the blue aliens were nice. They were talking to me. So
Oh yeah.
I don't
You're
know.
allies with the blue aliens.
I guess so.
There you go. That's cool. Wow, that's amazing. Um, man. What about yeah, what are some other just astral projections you've had that you just are like, damn, that was cool, or like something prophetic? Have you ever had any prophetic ones where, well, no, that's more dreams, right? Where you could possibly have something that happens
Yeah,
and then
I
you're
think
like,
so.
yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't say prophetic like that. Just more so, let's see. Mm, no, I explore a lot of places. Like I said, I spend a lot of time projecting like around my neighborhood and stuff.
Yeah.
This was interesting. Recently, I went to, which it was funny because there was a woman I projected somewhere and it was this like conference building thing. I remember being like, ew, why am I here? And so I walk up to this conference building and normally, because it felt like I'm here on like a 3D plane Earth somewhere. So normally I'm like a little ghost guy on the 3D plane, nobody interacts with me or whatever. Well, as soon as I was getting near because I was gonna go, as soon as I was approaching the building to go inside of it and investigate, there was this person standing there and they had like a red like a not red, a green eye that like it like scanned me. And then at that point it was like they put like a green light laser scanner thing over me and they could like see me.
And this feels like
They're
you're on the
there.
third dimension,
It felt
or
like I was
okay,
here. Yeah.
okay, okay.
So I was expecting normally if I project to places nearby, I'll just go through the walls and just nobody can see me. So immediately I'm like, and then they were like, what are you doing here? And I was like, honestly, I don't know. I said, I'm projecting. I just showed up. I said, I don't even know where I am. And then the guy has like a speaker thing in his ear and he calls someone out. So then this woman comes out and she was like, okay, come with me. She's like, you're not the first one we've had. And I'm like, so she takes me inside and I said, where am I? And she says, you're at Neuralink. And I remember asking her again because I wanted to remember. I was like, what? I was like, Neuralink. I was like, okay. And she was just like, yeah. She was like, so we have a bunch of scientists and projects, and we're working on all these studies with the brain. And she said that they have some machine, she said, that has been attracting astral projectors recently, that I'm not the first one to come by, and that
Wow.
they can sense our energetic footprint or whatever. And she was so nice. And so she's taking me through, I'm like touring this facility, looking around and I was like, okay, cool. And then she kind of was at that point, led me to the end of the door. I was like, okay, so like, bye bye. Um, I went back to my body and I remember right away, and this was like in the middle of the night, and I just wrote down in my notes app, I wrote down Neuralink, and then I went to bed. Didn't think anything of it. So the next morning I was Googling Neuralink. This freaking Elon Musk owns a company named
Yeah,
Neuralink.
Neuralink. Yeah,
I didn't even never heard of that before. That they're working on like the brain implants
yeah.
or something for people with and I was like, what? I was like, was
Wow.
I at his facility, I guess? And what the hell are they working on that's attracting astral projectors? Because I wasn't the first one.
Yeah. Oh
Uh,
my gosh, that's interesting. So,
so that was
Ashley, I
weird.
got to ask you. So, sorry, I'm slowing the uptake here. The person you interacted with was astral version of an astral being, or was that a physical being?
It felt like a physical being. So
So,
that's where I have my own questions on
I'm
that. Yeah.
wondering if Neuralink has gotten to a point where you can have that implanted, and they can, even though you're a human in physical, you can actually, because of whatever I have no idea. I'm just speculating
Yeah.
and guessing. You can, at that point, you can somehow, like Ashley shows up in astral form, then you can see Ashley and interact with Ashley. I don't know. That's super interesting, though. Super
Yeah.
interesting.
It definitely
I
had,
hope.
yeah, I had a lot of questions about that. Just in general, now, they have all that technology too, where listening to conversations and doing these things to where they're picking up on thoughts and stuff like
Yeah.
that. We know that technology is out there. I don't know
Yeah.
what they're doing with it, but I do believe that they are, I don't know, government stuff starting to be able to pick up on projectors and let that energetic footprint. So
Yeah.
I'm curious for the future, what's going to happen with that.
Yeah. I'm hoping for the best. I mean, I think, yeah, yeah, definitely. I don't know. We could go down that whole avenue together, but I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah, we'll
But I think
focus
we
it. Yeah.
both, yeah, I think we both feel the same way. But I don't know. I'm like I don't know what you would call it, but like I really love the whole natural astral projecting um, just vibe or like style, and I hope it never goes away.
Yeah,
And I'm not at the same
I
time.
agree.
I at the same time, and I think we need to cherish that, and we need to teach people that, and we need to grow that,
Yeah.
and all of those good things. You know what I mean? And for the last however many years, we should have been doing that, in my opinion, teaching kids this is natural. Here's how to do it.
Yeah,
If you want to do it, have fun. But it
exactly.
feels like it's been suppressed. But anyway, I'm just hoping like technology, great. It can be great. It can be bad. Whatever. I'm hoping it turns out to be beneficial and good and all that. But at the same time, I think it's important that that we really just grow the natural element of astral projection and cherish it and grow it. And yeah, I just went on a little rant about my feelings about astral projection and being able to do it naturally and all that stuff. And I don't know. How do you feel about all that?
No, I agree. I mean, I know, and with any type of spiritual work, I've always agreed not like I don't necessarily like to do like the drug induced, like how some people will be like, want to do a lot of spirit work in general under the influence of drugs and all these things. And I have always been kind of in the guides of just let's
Yeah, me
do it
too.
naturally with
Me too.
so
I've always been that way, and I don't know if that's been good or bad for me because
I know.
I still haven't been able. Me personally, I haven't been able to. Luckily, you've been able to astral project, but I haven't
Yeah.
been able to, and then it makes me wonder. Well, maybe you should try. What are some of the things like psilocybin or something like that, or whatever the ones are that would help you astral project, or ayahuasca.
Yeah.
But I've always been the same way. Actually, I'm like, if I want to do it, I want to learn how to do it naturally and being able to do it naturally before I mess around with anything else.
Right.
But but um but yeah, it's yeah, we should be teaching our kids this. We should be
I
teaching.
am.
We should.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm teaching my
Oh yeah.
kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for you. That's awesome. Hey, I had an astral projector I interviewed, and she said that she saw her kids playing around in the astral, and she would like the kid was all goofing around because he was young, and like
Yeah.
you can't catch me, and then like teleporting all over,
Yeah.
trying just like having fun like
Yeah.
that. Have you had any experiences like that?
So oddly enough, not with my children, but with my niece. I've
Oh,
seen my niece on the astral plane, which is
oh.
interesting. And it was when, and she actually lives in our neighborhood too. And actually, it was when I was just flying around the neighborhood and I saw her. So then I, flew up to her and I was like so excited actually. I was like, "Oh my goodness, she's 5." I was like, "You're on the astral plane." And just trying to talk to her.
And she was coherent, and she wasn't a
Yeah.
zombie version, just like sleeping
No, she was conscious
or
and she was
conscious.
flying around and we sat down on a roof on our rooftop in the neighborhood and we talked for a few minutes. And then I just told her to be safe and I
Huh.
gave her a hug. And then I zoomed away. And it was funny. I tried
That's
to
awesome.
like talk to her about it the next day.
I was
And
about to ask that.
she's so shy. She's this little shy little thing. But I was like, "Did you have any?" And I just said like dreams because how would you explain this to a 5-year-old?
Yeah.
I was like, "Do you dream a lot?" I was like, "Did you have any dreams last night? Did you see me?" And she's just like, "Yeah, I dream." And she didn't really say anything. I was like, "Do you remember having a dream with me?" And she just kind of smirked at me and
Oh,
she wouldn't say anything. So I kind of feel like I'm like, she knows. Like, I don't
oh
know.
yeah. If she gave you a smirk and didn't
But
say anything, I would
she
think
was like all like being shy.
yeah.
And I was like,
So so
okay,
she so she remembers and knows, but she's not at that point where she feels like she can, I guess, openly talk about it yet or
yeah,
something like that.
probably not. But
Yeah, that's really cool. Do you so when you fly around your neighborhood, do you see any other conscious projectors just flying around, but you'll leave them to their business?
so no, not
You don't
norm,
see any?
not no. That's why it was rare that I saw my niece that one time because I normally
Yeah,
don't see anybody. It's so quiet and peaceful.
yeah,
Normally,
yeah. Huh.
yeah.
That'd be cool to be flying through and see somebody you know, or else not even, but they're around the neighborhood. They live near
Yeah.
you in the physical, and just like and talk to them. Um, well, that's cool, Ashley. Are there any other interesting astral projections that you want to share?
I know. I'm like, oh, actually, which this was a couple years ago. This was probably the 3 year. I did this a lot. Totally forgot about that. Actually, that was wild. So I swam with a pod of orcas.
Whoa.
Um, yeah, and it's actually pretty terrifying at first because it's always nighttime. The water's dark, and
Oh yeah.
their energy is intense and really scary. But they took me right in. They knew I was there. They were interacting with me. I feel like we were talking telepathically. And after that moment, I was like, "Oh, Orca's got to be one of my spirit guides now, clearly." Because I hung out with this pod. I just was swimming around with them um, all night long. And
Oh,
it was pretty wild.
if
Just
it felt pretty pretty freeing
it's
and stuff, like being with
so,
them out there. Like, what did it feel
it
like?
It honestly, it felt so realistic that it was kind of terrifying.
Oh,
But I felt safe with them. But I mean, I feel like I could feel the sensation of like the water on my skin. And at first I was like kind of on the surface, but like swimming near them before one I held onto, we were swimming under the water. And at first
oh,
it was
that's
like
awesome.
that when you're swimming underneath, you think that panic of like I'm drowning, I don't know how to swim, and you have to like remind yourself like you're in your astral body, like you're fine, you can do this. And I was like, okay. And then you get out of your head and I was like, oh, okay, I am. But I couldn't hardly, it was just so dark, the waters are dark. It was like my vision was still the same, I think, as it would be if I was like scuba diving or something. You know what I mean? Like I feel like
Yeah,
I couldn't really see much. That was what made it kind of feel uh
like exhilarating, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just really intense.
So
um
were you holding on to the orca the whole time, or did you?
I I was on different ones. Sometimes I would swim between them, but I was holding on to this one. Um, yeah,
Wow, what an experience! That sounds
yeah.
amazing. That sounds so amazing. So you're wow, just going around with them, and I feel like there's probably that happens a lot. to you, correct me if I'm wrong, like a lot of having to check yourself, like what you were saying about when you go down underwater, you're like, all right, I'm in the astral. I don't have to worry about that. Like, does that happen a lot in the
Yes.
astral?
So
Like, it,
yeah, because like you said too, I think if you get scared too fast, a lot of times it will cause you to go back into your body. And that used to happen to me a lot before, to where I would constantly be going back to my body. Then I would be like, okay, let's fight, let's go back out. Because I could still feel my body like vibrating, and I'd go back out and back and forth, you know. So finally I'd try to learn to like, before I get to that point of fear, to kind of catch myself and be like, no, you got this. Don't even, like, I'll start to feel that sensation of fear and just to shut it down before it takes over. Because if the
nice.
fear does come, then it's typically like you're back in
It's
your
over,
body,
right? Yeah.
you know.
So you're getting good at that. You're getting good at
I've
catching
been
it and
better
being
at
able
that.
to.
Yes, catching beforehand and
That's
just
awesome.
talking yourself, just reminding yourself of what you're doing. And that
Yeah,
seems to help.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. Wow. Wow, that's so cool. So the orcas, are there so you have the orca guardians and you're allies with the orcas as well. You're making a lot of
Yep.
friends out there.
I think so. Yeah, I've swam with them at least 3 times that I can remember vividly. Um,
Oh, at least
so
three. Oh, three separate astral projections where you did them?
mhm,
Oh,
yeah,
wow. Nice.
yeah.
That's so cool. Um, have you flown all over this world? Like to Antarctica, to the North Pole? Like, have
So
you?
I've been trying to work on that more. I've been trying to focus more to, because like I said, I've had a hard time really trying to pick. Normally it's like my
Oh, yeah.
spirit's just gonna go wherever it goes. So I've been trying to focus on that. Um, I have been to Antarctica once, but I didn't go where I wanted to go. I wanted to try to go to where, people have set up stuff to explore. I was just in the middle of like ice and snow and nothing. And then that was that. And then I pretty much went back to my body. Um, I've recently been trying to go to Angel Falls. That's been my new project, just to test my skills of focusing on, okay, if I focus on Angel Falls, can I go there? I want to go there.
Where's
And
Angel
I
Falls again? That sounds really familiar.
South America,
Okay.
somewhere over there.
Oh, nice.
Um,
And it's probably magnificent looking. Just it's tons of
yeah,
waterfalls.
but just, well, this one is like, it's actually more of like a cliff of like orange rock. It's like one of the tallest ones that exists. It doesn't look like a normal waterfall. It's like super skinny and like high up, so the vegetation's down low.
Oh,
Uh, but I've been trying to focus on that just this past week or two, I would say, trying to go there.
oh,
Hasn't
nice.
happened yet, but maybe,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
still working on that. I'm
Oh,
working on
yeah.
that now, so I'm sure I will.
Oh,
Uh,
definitely. Yeah. How
but
you keep practicing, you'll be. Yeah. It's.
yeah.
I mean, you. It's like anything, right? The more you practice, the better the you're
Yeah.
getting.
And
You'll.
just to get more for me, it's just like visualization, saying it over and over, like before bed, like talking about it for a few hours, like just say it out loud, picturing it. And then before going to sleep, just being like, okay, that's where.
Hmm. Yeah, Angel
Uh,
Falls. That would be so cool to go to. Um.
yeah. No, the last time I fell asleep trying to think, and I remember when I started projecting, I'm telling myself, go to Angel Falls. And then, do you know where I went? I was so annoyed.
Where?
I I just like blipped in an instant, and was attached to some floating satellite, like close
Oh.
to Earth, like some satellite thing. And that's where my husband said, he was like, I wonder if the name, like if they have code name for that satellite and it's called Angel Falls or something.
Oh. Yeah,
Scared me
that's a
because it was
great
so
question.
instant. And the minute I was leaving my body, I was like, go to Angel Falls, like you could do it. And then it was just like I was like slammed into this satellite and I grabbed it, and I'm like, what the heck is this?
So
Um,
then, what'd you do? You just started drifting and flying around space and having a relaxing time,
Yeah, pretty much.
something
After I
like
was like
that.
holding on to satellite for a little bit at first and kind of like looking around it, and I was like, this is stupid. And then I just, flew.
Have you tried to look up a satellite named Angel Falls or anything like that?
I
Like
did,
see
but
if
I
you
couldn't see
couldn't find
anything.
one.
Yeah.
I wonder
Yeah.
though. That's a good question.
Yeah. I was trying to Google pictures of satellite to see what it looked like. It kind of looked like one of the International Space Station. It kind of looked like that, the Google image of that. So I was trying to look at that with my husband too. I'm like, what satellite did I go to? And I was like, oh, I think I went to the International Space Station. It's just floating there. So maybe it wasn't a satellite at all, but I don't
Yeah.
know.
Huh.
Who knows?
Yeah. I wonder. Um. Yeah. Or well, that's cool. So like teleportation, is that the only way people communicate or beings communicate in the astral is through telepathically, or does anybody say anything
Most of the
or
time, it's
speak
funny to me because
with
it
their
almost
mouth?
feels like people are speaking, like their mouths are moving, but it seems like I've been wondering that myself because I have had some instances where it feels like they're talking like normal,
Huh.
that I would understand. And then I have other instances where like no mouth is moving, but I can hear it in my head. So that would be like telepathy.
Hmm.
So I guess I've experienced both of those things.
Oh,
Um, but I've wondered myself, like it seems like they're just talking to me. I'm like, well, obviously this is just, it has to be a telepathic conversation. And what I'm like, are they just moving their mouth out of like, you know, I don't know. I wonder what I look like on the
yeah.
reverse end of that,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
because we're used to talking with our mouth. So even if we can do it telepathically, are we just like doing the motions? Just like when I land somewhere in an astral projection, a lot of times like I will be like walking sort of, even though I
Oh,
can
yeah.
fly. Like I'll zoom like a ghost. Sometimes I'm kind of hovering and I'll be like zooming around. Other times it feels like I'm walking. And I feel it's the same way with communication. Sometimes it feels more physical and other times it's definitely just like telepathic.
You're probably spot on. It's probably like a is it knee jerk reaction, or it's just like a natural habit. So, of us in the physical. So then like we just automatically probably
Right.
it
And we don't need
translates and just,
to kind of
yeah, and
thing.
don't need to. Yeah. Or else
Yeah.
maybe a being is doing it to comfort you or like, or just
Correct.
do it to be nice or something. I don't know. Maybe that's a thing too. And then they'll just
Right.
mimic it or, go through the motions.
Exactly.
Huh. And then teleporting, are you like can you do that once you're projecting? Because you can fly really fast and stuff like that, but can you just blink somewhere?
So it feels like that sometimes, and I've realized that I do think that you're just moving so fast that it's like fast in the speed of light because it has had but it never feels like I'm necessarily just blipping. I do feel like I always feel like you're just flying so fast, but it's like
It's
within an
like so
instant.
incredibly fast that
But I
it feels
still
that way.
feel like a sensation of like movement, not necessarily just like poof. But
Hmm.
that's just been my personal experience
Yeah,
so far.
yeah. Um, and then touch and smell and and your emotions. Yeah, so like touch, so all the feelings and sensations. You can't taste anything, right? Is that correct? In the
Yeah, I
astral?
wouldn't say no, but you can like try to, but it doesn't translate the same. But yeah, I don't think I've tried to taste something now that I'm thinking about it.
You should leave a piece of cake or something on your island or
Yeah,
whatever in your house, and then astral project to it and see and mess around and
yeah.
experiment or something.
Because I am able to experience like touch. Like I could feel like the orcas, like their skin, and I
Oh
could feel
yeah,
them touching me. If I can feel um energetically with like other beings, I've had some intimate moments. So I can feel that.
I
So
I was gonna ask you about that, and we don't have to go there if you don't want to. No big deal. But like I've heard about that. Like if you can
mhm.
touch and join with another being, and it's like an orgasmic experience, but it's not the same as sex orgasmic
Yeah,
care. Do you
yeah.
care to talk about how that is or anything like
I
that?
can
Or
do that a little bit, yeah. That is a wild experience. That yeah, it is weird because it is almost like because you feel like a little ghost guy and you can like tangibly feel the energy and it's almost like a body but like an energetic body like almost if you can like build that like fake ball in your hand and you can feel like the energy there if you try to make it.
yeah,
It's kind of feels like that, like you can feel that energetic movement on your astral body from another being. But again it's more of like this like weird just like pressure. It's like the energy, which with pressure you can do anything that you could do with your physical body. That's where it's different. It's almost like um I used to joke with my girlfriend. I was like, it's like being fucked by the wind. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
This like this wind energy that just kind of moves into a pressurized form, but you can see other beings that have like form, like human form, but it's just like an energy body. And yeah,
So
you can
is it are the pressure points the same? Like, could that
Mhm.
interaction be just like like the wind sensation on the arm or something, and it's feeling really good, or does it have to translate to the points that are important to us or triggering in the physical? You know what I mean? Like,
Kind of both, I
okay,
guess. So
so
I think
anything.
just touch in general on the astral plane like that just feels really good. It reminds me of like almost if you're like on ecstasy or something, you know, if like somebody touches your face, you're just like, yeah, it's kind of like that. Like there's just the sensation of your astral body. I'd like to just explain it just really windy, but with pressurized to where it can be, it's really orgasmic. In just a
Do,
weird kind of way. Yeah.
at the same time, is there do you also get to know the being and you can know like their history and everything as well, or no?
Um, Not
Is
like history or like I know for a while, and this was like 3 years ago. Um, I was joking with my friend. I was like, I meet some guy every Thursday at a certain time on the astral plane, and I don't know. It was like, but it was the same energy. It was the same person or on the astral plane for a few months actually. Then we would regularly meet and have that encounter, and I don't even know how or where we were. I feel like it was on that 4D plane that was right above here. And I don't know how we coordinated that, how that happened, but it just would happen.
huh? That's so
Um,
interesting.
so yeah,
So
I don't
did
know.
you so would you, after the first experience, you would try to go to the same spot every Thursday, and it would just, and then you would just meet the person? Uh
Kind of.
it was like a just known thing you both just started doing
Yeah.
after the first. That's so interesting. And you didn't, so you don't get to, for some reason, I thought I heard somebody talk about it before, and how when you join, I think it was Rick actually, he talked about when you interact on such a level that we're talking about, that you actually get to, you join with the spirit to the point where you know, like everything about them, everything they've done. But it sounds like that wasn't the case with you.
Yeah. I hadn't experienced knowing any personal knowledge or anything like that.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. Um, What about like thoughts and manifestation? Like, do you can you on the astral, can you think about something and manifest it? Does that, or is that not a thing?
Yeah, so that's kind of like what I was doing before that hooded cloak guy found me. That was I was doing that kind of experimentation phase to where wherever I was, which felt again, it felt more of like a earth plane dimension, maybe the 4D or something. I would be like, okay, I want a mansion to show up right here that looks like this, and like poof, there it was. And I would be like all excited. And I'm like, okay, now let's put, a table here with pink flowers, and then poof, pink flowers are there. I went through a phase where I was doing that a lot. And that's actually how that hooded cloak guy found me. He was like, oh, what are you doing? And it was when I was kind of manifesting these things to see what I could do on the plane as far as
Is that
that
this?
type of thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's really interesting. Is that the remember that guy that created the space station, the bar,
Yeah.
whatever? Would that be the same, like that mansion you created in the astral? Is that still there? Like that bar's there for him, or no?
So I wonder that myself. I'm not sure. So I
Huh.
haven't tried to even go back to that point to see that. But I was talking about that with someone else recently, actually, that I wondered if that's the case. If
Huh.
once you create something, does it stay? I don't know. I haven't tried to go back.
Yeah, that's, I wonder. Lucid dreaming, when you would lucid dream a lot, that was basically the premise of it, right? You just, whatever you think about, you create
Oh,
in as
pretty
you're lucid
much.
dreaming.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that does translate to the astral as well. It just, so then what would be because when you lucid dream, the feeling's more lucid, but when you astral project, it feels more real. Is that correct?
Yes. And different. I know I've tried to like explain the difference before. It was like, it feels like so when you're lucid dreaming, the dream, like your perception of everything is just like, how it is in Earth, kind of when you're astral projecting, it feels like you are seeing from your third eye. So everything is more like your vision isn't the same as it is now, where I feel like in a dream, your vision is like the same. So in the astral plane, I don't know how to explain it more. Just that you're seeing differently. It's like you have one huge eye that sees everything instead of two, if that makes sense. So it just
Yeah.
it's such a nuanced thing. It's hard. It's really hard to explain. There's like
Yeah.
a so close. I've thought a
But
lot hard about trying to explain the difference,
yeah, no,
but besides just
that
the
kind
way
of
that
helps.
you see, but it is also the feeling, like you have more realistic sensations of almost like the physical body, which is funny because it's like not there anymore, than even in a lucid dream. Because
Oh
in a
wow.
lucid dream, you can interact with people and you can feel, but it's not as like, holy shit, like on the astral, it's
Yeah.
just more
Yeah.
vivid.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
That helps explain it. Um, but can you still have but when you astral project, even though you kind of see from your third eye or whatever, there are moments where you can experience as if you're walking around, as if you're looking out of two eyes, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Or does it completely feel
Well, that's what I was
like,
gonna say. Like the vision field feels different, but you still sometimes feel like you're walking with a physical body in a sense.
yeah,
Um,
huh? One of those things you have to experience to really know,
yeah,
huh?
it's so hard to try to explain it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Um, and then the planes and their, yeah, it's like I was going to ask about all the different dimensions and how high it goes, and I don't know. Do you know how many dimensions there are? Are there just infinite amounts, and we don't even truly know at this point? Like, what have you
Yeah.
experienced in that regard?
I'm not really sure. I know just from my like some research that I've done, I've come to believe that I think there's like at least like 13 dimensions, but I don't know necessarily, I haven't experienced that per se.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
yeah,
wonder.
I'm not sure.
I've heard there's even like a mental plane at some point. I don't know if that's the
Yeah.
same as dimensions, but like it's the mental plane and it's not physical there. It's yeah, more mental. I don't know. Have you had any
Yeah.
experience with that or anything like that?
Um, well, just in the sense I've been to like a place before to where it's like there's nothing but you're not in space per se, but you're just nothing, but you can like there's like thoughts involved, I guess. Like you can still like think, but there's nothing there.
Oh,
Um,
what did you do?
so
What were you doing there? Did you just had some thoughts and that was it?
it was pretty weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nothing. There was like nothing, nowhere to go, nothing to even fly around. It was almost like felt like I couldn't move per se. Like you're just here and you're just, I don't know.
Yeah. Huh. Um, well, that's cool. Well, how are you feeling, Ashley? We've been talking for 2 hours and 20 minutes now, or at least 2 hours. You feel good?
Okay.
You feel,
Yeah,
are
I'm
you?
feeling good. But yeah, we should probably wrap it up. I didn't know it
Okay,
was that long.
yeah.
I'm good, but my husband's waiting around here. He's probably
Okay.
like, what is she doing?
Tell him thank you for being patient and this has been amazing. Well, yeah, let's wrap it up then. Well, well, number one, my gratitude. Thank you so much, Ashley. I really appreciate you and talking to me and opening up. And so thank you very much.
Yeah,
This has
thanks for
been
having me.
a pleasure for sure. Is there anything that you like I can help you advertise or sell? I mean, my channel's not big, but is there anything that you want to say to anything?
Um, uh, I don't know. I make art. Follow my art
Oh
on
yeah,
Instagram.
exactly. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
perfect.
at Ashley Lash Art.
Yeah. All right.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
What kind of art do you make?
I do like painting, acrylic paint. I do
Nice.
abstract stuff, florals, stuff like that.
Okay, yeah,
So
perfect. So I'll put that in the description for anybody that I'll put the link and everything if anyone wants to go check that out.
yeah, send you a link on Facebook or something in case. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that'll be perfect. Okay, cool. Um and yeah, just that was amazing. Um I'm thinking, what do you think I should do? Do you think I should break this up into like a part 1 an hour and part 2, or do you think I should just put it all out there for 2 hours? Like, do you even care?
I don't really care, but
Uh,
probably doing part one, part two
yeah,
would
yeah.
make more sense. I feel like people are attracted to shorter stuff, right, than longer,
Yeah, yeah.
typically.
And then do you
So
do you think I should chop it up, or do you think it should just be raw, just like how it all went down?
that's up to you. I don't mind if you want to make even one video that's like super short, that's like 20 minutes with
Yeah.
just a few chopped pieces, and then have like the other videos of part one, part two, just to have
I
multiple
think that's
options
a
just
great
for like
idea.
the click thing, you know?
Yeah,
You could probably just do that. Make some short one of like your favorite little pieces and then have other parts with the full, you know?
I
Yeah.
think that's an excellent idea. I'm actually going to definitely have the fulls just because I like to have fulls out there.
Yeah,
But then I think I'm going to have one that's 20 minutes or however many
exactly.
of just
Just,
you and your experiences, and it'll be
yeah.
just you and just the experience portion, and then I'll do a bunch of little shorts, 20
Yeah. So if
seconds,
people
1
are
minute.
interested, they'd be like, oh, they can see the full thing. Yeah.
Yeah. All
That's
right.
fine.
Okay. Well, cool. Yeah, Ashley, thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it so much. Don't be a stranger. Maybe we can talk again some other time and talk more about your experiences or whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
I
Sounds good.
thank you so much. It's been really nice. Thanks a lot, Ashley. I appreciate you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right.
Have a great night.
You too.
All right.
Thanks.
Yep. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.